Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. I took 2 weeks off and all hell broke loose. But as usual, most of the hell is coming from Prince Harry's mouth. He moved to California, rocking the foundations of the British monarchy. It was about 3 years ago they quit now. Seems like forever, doesn't it?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the explosive fallout surrounding Prince Harry's new memoir and his bombshell media tour. From shocking claims about his family to jaw-dropping revelations about his past, Harry has managed to stir up a storm yet again. But is he crossing the line and bullying the royal family? Piers Morgan certainly thinks so, and his fiery reaction has everyone talking. Stick around because we're breaking it all down right here. And before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss any of the hottest takes.
The claims he's made this week have detonated a bomb. But this weapons-grade hypocrite has done nothing more than reduce his own reputation to rubble. And after torching what's left of the bridges back to his family, he now begins a new personal journey, we're told, one that ends with ridicule and irrelevance. The prince who fled Britain to protect his family's privacy has laid bare every tawdry detail of his private life, from drug abuse to intimate conversations with his father, the king, even at Prince Philip's funeral. The dad who fears for the security of his family, apparently, has put a target on their backs now, and on the backs of the royal family, and on his former military colleagues, with his stupid boasts about killing 25 Taliban, or as he calls them, chess pieces. And the Be Kind ambassador, so earnestly invested in women's rights, brags about mocking a disabled matron at his prep school. He names her. She's called Pat. He said she was greasy and too ugly for him to feel horny. Think about that woman tonight, having to deal with that in what will be one of the biggest red books of the year. How does she feel if she's still around? I don't know. How do her family feel about that? He also exposes how he lost his virginity, says he mounted some woman behind a pub and she spanked him on his ass. Did he check that terminology with Meghan Markle? Hasn't she just literally done a podcast series trying to eliminate sexist terminology from men? Oh dear, Harry. The discarded son who just wants private, clear-the-air talks with his family, if only he wasn't scared they'd be leaked, has now leaked everything. And I mean everything. I read it all today. It is mind-blowing. Most outrageously of all, Harry and Meghan allowed claims to swirl about racism in the royal family for almost 2 years. They made a 6-hour documentary about it. They accepted a Human Rights Award last month for fighting structural racism in the royal family, all based on what they told Oprah Winfrey. But now Harry's decided that apparently that's not what they meant at all.
In the Oprah interview, you accuse members of your family of racism. You don't even...
No, we didn't.
Well,
The British press said that.
Right.
Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist?
She said there were troubling comments about
There
his
was
skin
concern
colour.
about his skin colour.
Right. Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?
I wouldn't, not having lived within that family. The way the British press reacted to that was fairly typical. Neither of us believe that that comment or that experience or that opinion was based in racism.
I would like to apologise on behalf of the British press, actually, because he is an unbelievable village idiot, and I think it's all our fault.
Let's get into it. All right, let's start with a quick recap. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle left the UK 3 years ago, citing a desire for privacy. But since then, they've done the exact opposite. Public interviews, documentaries, podcasts, and now a memoir that lays bare every private moment. From deeply personal conversations with his father, King Charles, to controversial comments about his military service, Harry hasn't held back. But here's the kicker. Isn't this the same guy who claimed he wanted to protect his family's privacy? What changed? Is this about setting the record straight, or is it something more? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Honestly, it's not the fact that he was useless at school and got no qualifications, which is why he's doing all this stupid stuff. It's the British press's fault. We're responsible for everything, including his ginger hair. And I'd like to apologise for giving him ginger hair. It's awful. We should never have done it. But let me get this straight on a serious point. The racist British press blamed for 6 hours straight of that Netflix bilge for hounding Meghan out of our racist country driven at the top by a racist royal family. Apparently, it's the press that's to blame for saying that Meghan Markle's claims of racism were claims of racism. Now, this had consequences, what they said to Oprah Winfrey. I was forced out of my last job presenting Good Morning Britain, a job I really enjoyed, because I said I didn't believe these claims without firm evidence. There wasn't any. And now we get told it wasn't racism. Exactly is what I suspected at the time. Do I get an apology? Does Sharon Osbourne, one of my guests tonight, does she get restored to her job at the CBS show, The Talk? Because she got fired for offering support on Twitter for my right to my opinion, because apparently I'd said racist things. It turned out those racist things were not believing Meghan Markle's racism claims. Now they say they didn't mean racism. So does Sharon get her job back? Will they give back that award that they got for their heroic battle against structural racism in the royal family? Now we know there was no racism, structural or otherwise. Across 3 new interviews and 416 whining pages of his book, Spare Me, as I call it, Harry lambasts the British press and his family for colluding with the British press. His bitterness and bile for Camilla, the Queen Consort, is shocking. This is the love of his father's life, who he brands a dangerous villain.
I'd love to hear what you think. Enter Piers Morgan, the ever-outspoken critic of the Sussexes. He's calling Harry out, labeling him a weapons-grade hypocrite for trashing his family while pocketing millions. Piers didn't hold back, saying Harry's book has reduced his reputation to rubble. One of the most controversial moments in the book? Harry's boast about killing 25 Taliban fighters during his military service. Piers slammed him for putting a target not only on his own back, but on the royal family and his former military colleagues.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
That made her dangerous.
That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press. And there was open willingness on both sides to trade of information. And with a family built on hierarchy, and with her on the way to being Queen Consort, there was going to be people or bodies left in the street because of that.
Bodies left in the street, says the guy who boasted about killing 25 Taliban. Actual bodies that he left in the street, and then boasted about it, which has now enraged the entire Muslim world. But Camilla was apparently dangerous because she forged relationships with the media, says the man who's pocketed over $100 million by forging relationships with media entities like Netflix, Spotify, Oprah Winfrey, James Corden, CBS, ABC, and so it goes on. He says his brother, the Prince of Wales, attacked him because he was riled by reading stories in the tabloids, but also that his brother placed those stories in the tabloids himself. He slams a memoir by Diana's butler, Paul Burrell, as one man's self-justifying, self-centering version of events. My God, the irony of this! From a man who's literally just produced the single most self-justifying, self-centering version of events imaginable. And if we want any more evidence of Harry's complete loss of self-awareness and utter delusion, it's surely in that claim that the book was never intended to do any harm or hurt to his family.
You said you want your father and brother back. Do you think that this book is going to bring them back, or are they going to further divide you?
I have thought about it long and hard, and as far as I see it, the divide couldn't be greater.
And let's not forget the comments about Camilla, branding her dangerous for allegedly working with the media. What do you think? Does Harry have a point, or has he gone too far? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to smash that like button. Let's talk about one of the biggest bombshells from Harry and Meghan's infamous Oprah interview. The claim that someone in the royal family raised concerns about their baby's skin color.
Before this book, but I genuinely believe that if me and my family can reconcile, can put our differences behind us, but first there needs to be conversation and accountability. And if that doesn't happen, then that's very sad.
Compensation and accountability. Is that a joke? Is that a joke? You're the one doing all the attacking. You're the bully. You're the one trashing your family in public, not the family that stayed silent, throughout this onslaught that's been going on now for several years. What's sad, Harry, is your public self-destruction and the remorseless way you've savaged your own loved ones to airbrush yourself. Please don't make my final days a misery, King Charles said to Harry after Prince Philip's memorial. We know that because Harry's told us. He's revealed that most excruciatingly private conversation with his father, our new king. Imagine what he would have said if a tabloid newspaper had revealed that conversation. It's disgusting. How dare you invade my family's privacy? This proves what I say about you all. You're revolting. Yeah, maybe. But what does it make you now you've done exactly the same thing that you've been ranting about for years? Harry and Meghan, let's be clear, have sold their royal souls for a life as reality stars, trading every private cough and splutter for cash. The royal family has said nothing about this volley of abuse. It's maintained a dignified silence, which I think is the correct response. Because without the royal gravitas, without the titles, Harry and Meghan, well, what are they? They're just another version of the Kardashians. They've gone for broke with this latest instalment of The Only Way is Sussex, but we might finally be closing in, hopefully, on the final episode. Well, joining me in the studio is Talk TV presenters Sharon Osbourne, Vanity Fair royal editor Katie Nicholl, from New York, Talk TV's Trisha Goddard, and Princess Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell. So a stellar lineup to discuss all this. Paul Burrell, let me start with you. You, like most people...
For nearly 2 years, this narrative has fueled accusations of racism against the monarchy. But now, Harry's walking it back, saying it wasn't actually racism. Piers, who lost his job for questioning this claim, is demanding answers. If it wasn't racism, what was it? And why accept awards for fighting structural racism in the royal family? This is where things get murky, and honestly, it raises more questions than answers. If you're as confused as I am...
Get a kicking in the book. He dismisses you as self-serving, writing a book just to put one side of the point of view. I mean, I had to laugh when I read that. This is by a guy who's literally just done exactly that.
Yes, but Piers, you knew my story. At the time, I was being trashed by everyone, and I went to the highest court in the land, and I had to survive. I had to feed my family. Everything I had was taken away from me. Harry's in a totally different position. He's an angry, petulant, privileged prince who constantly blames others for, with no accountability on his part. His mother would be absolutely appalled by, don't only undermine himself, he's undermining his country, his family, the institution, which is the monarchy, which his mother was very proud of. It beggars belief. I don't recognize the young man that I grew up with. I don't recognize that man anymore. I just don't know what's happened to him. I think he's lost the plot completely, Piers. This book shouldn't be called Spare, it should be called Blame, because he's blaming everybody else but himself.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, I've never seen an unhappier looking person who constantly tells us how happy he is. This is not a happy man. He's bitter, bitter, bitter.
No.
And there seems to be no end to the bitterness.
Yes. No, and you have to remember, our dear late Queen had to suffer this too before she died, because she also watched the Oprah Winfrey interview and thought, what on earth is happening here? Why didn't Harry come and talk to me about this? So she went to her grave, actually not knowing the truth, with great distress, which Harry compounded in her final days of her life.
Well, I honestly think the Queen will be turning in her grave, reading all this stuff and reading the fallout, because not only did that Oprah Winfrey interview air literally a couple of days after Philip was taken to hospital, and as we later know, died within several months, but the book has now come out within 3 months of the Queen dying.
Hit that subscribe button because we'll be keeping a close eye on how this unfolds. Finally, let's look at the bigger picture. Harry's relentless attacks on his family have left deep scars. King Charles reportedly begged Harry not to make his final days a misery, and yet Harry has exposed even the most private family moments. And then there's William, who Harry accuses of physically attacking him. Is this airing of dirty laundry justified, or is it a betrayal of the very institution Harry claims to care about?
And there is his response to the death of our great monarch is within 3 months to do a book which causes severe damage to the institution that she represented so magnificently for over 70 years.
I totally agree. And Piers, you remember those boys growing up. You saw them grow up. You came to Kensington Palace. Now, in those days, Diana always had the final word. So I'm going to leave you with my words, which I think Diana would be saying right now. She'd be saying to Harry, jumping up and down, wanting to be noticed, shh, Harry, be quiet.
Yeah, you do wonder who on earth is having that conversation with him. Well, let's go to Trisha Goddard. So, Trisha, you know, you were there on Good Morning Britain on the day, the morning after the Oprah Winfrey interview aired. We had a pretty lively series of exchanges on that show. As you know, I left Good Morning Britain the next day because I was asked to apologise for disbelieving her claims of racism. I said I wanted to see evidence of this so-called racism. We now learn from Harry's own mouth that they did not call the royal family racist after all. So I'm not quite sure why I had to leave my job. Are you?
Yes.
Well, go on, why?
Because they actually didn't use the words racist.
Oh, please.
And would you like me to finish?
No, I'll tell you what I want to do, Trisha. Before you go any further, I want to play you what they said on Oprah. Then you can repeat what you've just said. Let's watch this.
Okay.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What? About how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
What was that conversation?
Piers Morgan argues that Harry has become a public spectacle, likening the Sussexes to reality stars rather than royals. But here's the real question. Can Harry and his family ever reconcile after this? Or has the damage already been done? So, where does this leave us? Prince Harry's media tour and memoir have undoubtedly sparked debate, but at what cost? Piers Morgan has made it clear. He believes Harry is bullying the royal family and destroying his own reputation in the process. What do you think? Is Harry justified in sharing his side of the story, or has he crossed a line? Let's get the conversation going in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the stories that matter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.